So you join me at the start of my daily commute, which is just north of Clerkenwell, kind of between Clerkenwell and Barbican. And generally I tend to use the Forest e-bikes, just because they're everywhere near where I live, slightly cheaper than the line bikes and work pretty well for me. And as we're leaving or driving or cycling down towards Barbican, this road is a bit of a nightmare just because of the condition of the road. So you can see like how bumpy it is, and there's several grooves that you don't want to get stuck in, so you kind of have to kind of steer away from the side of the road a little bit. So, you know, when motorists are saying, why don't the cyclists stick to the side of the road? Well, it's just usually because of the condition of the road. You don't want to end up in some groove. And you'll see this all along here. See where they've relayed the tarmac basically there. If you're on the left of that tarmac, you're right next to the cars, so if someone opens their door, you're going to get hit. If you're on the right of this relayed tarmac, you're in the middle of the road and people just get annoyed at you, and you can't cycle down the tarmac because it's just not nice. You're just so bumpy, so you end up just in the middle of the road basically, and some people get annoyed, but there's not much you can do about it. So this is approaching, well, just Clerkenwell really, towards Barbican Station, and what you'll see probably at some point during this video is my bugbear of cyclists going through red lights. Now, I tend to stop at every red light, regardless of whether it's a zebra crossing or a pedestrian crossing or a junction or whatever it might be. And the main reason for that is I was a pedestrian for 2 years living in London, and it was an absolute nightmare crossing junctions because you never knew, even if it was a green light, you might get hit by a cyclist or you have a close call, because so many of them just do not stop at red lights. And I think the other thing as well is it's just good to have good behaviours, right? So as an example to young people, as an example to each other, really we should just be obeying the law, stopping at a red light, letting the traffic go through. It's safer for everyone. But unfortunately there are a large, it's not even a minority, it's a majority of cyclists who will not stop at red lights. They will just go through whenever they think they do. And it's often, unfortunately, it's the ones who don't wear helmets, it's the ones who don't have high-vis vests, it's the ones who do more riskier things on the bicycle, and I've seen cyclists get hit, and it tends to be those types of people. So you just got to put up with it. Right, we're heading towards Barbican. As you see, a bit weaving in and out here because it gets a bit congested at this point. Weirdly, it was a lot more congested on this day than usually. There's not usually tons of traffic piling up here, so I don't really know. This is why I was a bit confused when I got to this point, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to have to go down the middle because the left side is not clear. So you just got to, it looks worse than it is. You've just got to be sensible, not go down the side of any lorries, not go down the side of any buses. There's plenty of space on the right hand side from where this bus is. And to be fair, the bus drivers are usually quite good at spotting cyclists and being aware of their surroundings. They've got cameras, they've got mirrors everywhere, so they tend to be quite good. You do get the odd one that gets a bit riled up by the cyclists being in front or next to them, but in the whole, buses are not usually a concern when you're cycling around central London. It tends to be other cyclists, unfortunately. So yeah, we're coming down, just gone past Barbican, and unfortunately some of the footage is quite dark as I'm using this little Insta360 Go camera, which it's a tiny little camera that you stick to a magnet on yourself, but it doesn't seem to have the biggest sensor, but so it does go a bit dark in places unfortunately, but not much I can do about that. So we head down here to the Museum of London roundabout, which I believe all of this Museum of London is being demolished and they're moving somewhere else, so this will all change at some point. Pretty good roundabout to go around, never have any issues here. You just got to bide your time, jump in and cycle around. And then once you get around this bit, there's quite a lot of roadworks going on at the moment, so unfortunately you have to dismount to go across the pavement to get onto the route I need to go, which is through the City of London. to then get onto London Bridge. So usually you don't have to do this. Usually you can just cycle up here, cycle left, turn left, and you're on your way. But just because of all these cones and so on, I just tend to get off the bike, walk it across the pavement a bit, and then get back on it, which seems to be the easiest thing to do. And there's not a lot of people at this point anyway, so it's not too bad. So this little bit is a fun little bit past the town hall and towards the City of London, towards my favourite building in London, which is the Bank of England building. And when you cycle past the Bank of England building in the morning, you get this lovely smell of roast dinners. I think they must have a roast dinner every day because it just smells amazing. And they must start cooking it earlier on, because I can always smell such nice food coming out of there. Maybe it's not there, maybe it's a building next door to it, but it just smells so nice when you're going all the way to it. So this is a fairly easy part of the journey. We'll get to the more hectic bits in a minute. All around London Bridge station is all the hectic bits, and it's all the thrilling bits as well, because when you're in a group of cyclists and you're heading down the hill, and you can hear the rock music that people are playing in the streets and there's stuff going on, there's people everywhere, you do get like a little buzz of like, yes, this is a cool way to go home. And actually this journey, just to comment on this traffic light here, it's a bit of an annoying traffic light, because there's actually nothing stopping me from going, because there's no junction on the left for cars to come out. So I think really they just need to set a separate cycle lane here, which keeps the cyclist to the left and just has a permanent green light. Because although I stop, I do feel a bit stupid stopping sometimes. Well, I guess you've got the pedestrians, so you would have to stop it a little bit for the pedestrians, but the rest of the time it can just be good. But yeah, I take this route because it's about 30 minutes to cycle home. It's the quickest of all my options. My other option is to go to Farringdon Station, get the Elizabeth line to Canary Wharf, and then Canary Wharf across on the boat to Rotherhithe. Or I can get the Elizabeth line to Whitechapel, change at Whitechapel, get the overground down to Canada Water Station, and then either cycle home from there or get a bus. But both those other options take 40-45 minutes, so this option is the quickest one, and it's the most fun. So you've got right hand turn here, which is usually fairly straightforward, not usually a lot of traffic around here. Straight across. Bank of England on the left, massive building and really amazing architecture. It's like you're in the City of London, but then the Bank of England building is like a little city inside the city, because it's got a massive wall around all the buildings inside. And then this light's always on red. I don't know why I always arrive when it's on red. But anyway, there you go. Someone just going straight past. And look how annoying this is for the people in front. They've got green lights on their pedestrian crossing, and he just cycles straight through them all. I mean, if you're elderly, it's very easy to get off over. So it's just very frustrating. This is one of the busiest junctions in London, although it seems to be fairly okay today. And we just got up here, they've just finished a lot of roadworks here, so it's kind of nice now for cyclists to cycle up now. And we're heading right now towards the London Bridge junction, which comes off Cannon Street. So I could have carried on going down the other way before I jumped off the bike and walked it over the pavement. You can carry on going down there and go along Cannon Street. Now Cannon Street isn't massively congested all the time, so you're in and out of buses and cars, so it can be fun. But this is a much easier and safer option, so I tend to head down here instead. And this is where it starts getting really, really fun, to be honest. Again, you're going to see just cyclists just like streaming past it for whatever reason. It's just so annoying. Like we've got someone there pushing a push train, and they're trying to keep their eye on the buses, the traffic lights, the people, and then we've got cyclists going through as well. Just kind of really simple. when we go through these lights, we're turning right onto the bridge, and it's a bit of a wacky racist type scenario where everyone's just legging it basically. You've got the buses turning in as well. The buses are all generally going to park up on the left, so you just get to know this stuff, you know, because you're doing it every day. You know where the bus is going to pull over. You know if you've got to hang back or whatever. And I tell you what, being a driver helps when you're cycling around central London, because, and this is what a lot of cyclists who don't drive don't get, is they're always in such a hurry to go to the next bit. Like I was riding quite slowly on this film because I was a bit worried the camera would come off the magnet, so I was a bit more laid back than I usually am. But even generally, I don't go speeding up to the next traffic light because it's going to be red. What's the point? And if you're a driver, you kind of know this. You kind of, you know, you'll coast into space, knowing you don't need to rush to get there because you'd rather not have to keep stopping all the time. A lot of cyclists don't seem to have this frame of mind. They're like 100 miles an hour as soon as it goes green, and then the next red light if they stop, and then 100 miles an hour as soon as it goes green, and you just think, what is the point of doing that? So quite often I hold back or just coast towards lights I can see in the distance are red, and everyone's overtaking me. But the problem with that is you then got to re-overtake them, because usually if you're on any bike, there's a lot of cyclists who are going slower than you because they've not got the electric power. So you just end up in this thing where you're just constantly re-overtaking people, and then you'll see a light further ahead and it will start slowing down, you know, as soon as you see it's red, because you know you're just going to stop, and then they'll just all pile around you again, and it just gets a bit annoying. But this is a really cool bit, by the way. Look at all the people going home on the left-hand side, down towards the station. It gets very busy around here. You'll also hear the street preacher on the corner on his tannoy, which is fair play to him. Goes out every evening, no matter what the weather, and gets on his tannoy. So kind of got a lot of respect for someone doing that. And then we just wait for the green light now to turn left, and the fun bit going down the hill. Now this bit where we go down the hill, you've got a traffic light at the bottom, so you're either going to have a really great time and you're going to hit the green, or you're going to hit the red and you're going to lose all your momentum, which is again I think a reason why a lot of cyclists just go through red lights, because they don't want to lose momentum, but it's no excuse. You've just got to stop. It's fairly straightforward. So yeah, this is fun. It's really, really good fun. I love going down this hill. Not so much fun coming up, but especially on a normal bicycle. Last year I was on a normal bicycle and it's a bit of a pain cycling. So I've just got through an amber, and now the next 5 or 6 traffic lights along this road, you're either going to hit every single red light, or you're just going to fly through them. And on this one, I had a really good way of just flying through them. I just got the momentum, the timing was right with the traffic lights, and it just makes such a big difference to your journey time as well. Probably adds 5 or 10 minutes if you hit the reds on every single one. Yeah, I've got to be careful because there's a lot of junctions here, people stepping out, it's very touristy, lots of people on the pavement, some won't wait for the green light, so you just got to have your wits about it. You can hear music going off, there's usually a couple of bands playing live in the street, so it's my favourite bit of the journey, to be honest, down here. There's always something going on, whether it be someone, that's the mad thing as well I've noticed. In other parts of the country, you know, if you're driving along, you choose a quiet point to do a 3-point turn if you've got to turn around. Not in London. Drivers will just do 3-point turns wherever they are, even Oxford Street or central London. Yeah, I've just gone for another amber, just got through. They'll just do a 3-point turn wherever they feel fit, so you've always got to look out for that, for cars just doing random turns. You know, pedestrians walking on pavements, e-scooters is an issue. But mainly it's other cyclists. You've got to keep your wits about your motorbike there and just be ready to pull the brakes. So we got another red light, but I was thankful just to get through those other ones. Didn't have to wait long. And this bit now is all kind of segregated cycle ways. So it's fantastic, to be honest. fair play to all the cycling community who've been going on about getting these segregated cycleways throughout London, because they are absolutely fantastic. You feel a lot safer, a lot more easier to get home. This traffic light tends to be on red a long time, and you see a lot of cyclists get frustrated with this and will just cycle through. I think there was many on this time when I recorded this week, but it's a junction where you just get a lot of people colliding, and they nearly collided those two, because people just don't obey the rules. Even the cars as well. They'll drive there. The buses will block the whole cycle path. So if everyone just stuck to the rules, it would be so much easier, but nobody does. Everyone's like, I'm in this for me, stuff you, basically. And then also at this junction, you've got the Wetherspoons on the corner, so you've got a lot of people hanging outside, and you've got tourists. So this road here goes up to Tower Bridge. So Tower Bridge is literally just round the corner from this spot, and so all the tourists are coming down here, not necessarily knowing the road junction. So sometimes they will just, like, these people standing here for ages, they'll get fed up and they'll just start walking across, and then they'll get almost hit by loads of cyclists. Anyway, so someone's just gone for a bit right there, so you just got to keep your wits about you as you're going down here. But the segregated cycleway works. Now I go quite slow on this bit because there's a few zebra crossings, and you'll see the cyclists pelt down here like no tomorrow. But because of the bus stop islands, you do get people crossing, and I'm always got my hand on the brake ready just in case someone does cross. Again, I think it's a driver mentality, just having your foot on the brake or whatever, just in case someone wants to cross. But again, that is missing from a lot of cyclists, unfortunately, where they're just not bothered. And there's been cases where I stopped at the zebra crossing and everyone else has just piled through, and I'm like trying to hold people back, and there's someone stood there waiting to cross. The other annoying thing, you do get some people who just tend to hover around zebra crossings and don't actually cross. That can be annoying in a different way. So I stood there, I stopped, and I was just looking. This is a very common junction for cyclists not to stop at red lights, just because it's quite quiet on the left hand side where the road is. So the temptation is heightened to just ignore it and keep going and keep going. But I think, look, for what it saves you through not doing this, maybe it saves you 5-10 minutes. If it's the chance of it saving your life and not getting hit by a car, and your family all turning up at your funeral, why wouldn't you just stop? Just stop. It makes life so much safer for yourself. This is kind of can be annoying as well, where someone overtakes you but then goes a lot slower than you were going previously. So they'll pull up next to you, then go in front of you, and then you kind of got to go to their pace. But I'm not going to stress too much about that. It is what it is. There's a few stops down along this route anyway, so it's not like it's too much of a worry. I think I do overtake this guy at some point. The speed. And again, sorry that it's so dark in this video, but it's just this little camera doesn't seem to do so well in low light. It's fine when it's bright, but just not in low light. Finally get a chance to go around. You've got to be aware as well, if you're overtaking cyclists, is who's coming up behind you as well, and you don't want to pull out to overtake someone while someone's just overtaking you, because it's just going to cause collisions. So that's the issue. You've also got these guys, that delivery rider who's just gone past, who is clearly it's not a bicycle, he's not pedaling at all, it's basically a motorbike. He's got an engine strapped to his bicycle, basically electric engine. He's just, that's how he's powering. He's not doing any cycling at all. So and some of these guys can go really fast. So personally, I don't think that should be allowed on the cycle lane. I think they should be on the road, but there you go. Because they're going the same speed as cars sometimes. They're going 30 miles an hour. Fair play to these guys stopping at the red light. I think a lot of this as well is to do with education, especially people coming from different countries, or people coming from families that are not very stable. They're not taught about this stuff. That they have not done a cycle proficiency course at school when they were 12 or something. No one's really showed them this stuff and why it makes sense. So I kind of think a lot of the time it's ignorance. They just look at you like, why you stopped, when there's nothing there. They just kind of don't get it. So it's not like some people do obviously just don't care. But some people, I just think they just not ever have that training with someone to say that it's not safe, and you're risking yourself and other people by doing it. Now it's obviously not on the scale of drivers going through red lights. That's clearly life-threatening. It's more on a scale of just being annoying for pedestrians mainly. And again, this is such a good segregated park route. A long stretch down here, but it's all flat. Most of London's flat, to be honest. In the centre anyway. And it's just so nice to be able to cycle home at the end of the day. I'm not such a fan of cycling to work, although I do it. It's more, but it's fun to cycle home, because you're on your way home. This is a pretty busy junction here. Now, this is probably the only part of the route where you could probably say, I do something wrong here. And I'd have probably no excuses. But it's just it's a weird way of the road. So when this goes green for cyclists, you're meant to go diagonally across the road onto the other side of the road. I don't do that because I want to turn left into the park, and if I'm on the other side of the road, then I can't turn left into the park. And you'll see me go through a red light here. Now, the only reason I'm doing that is because it's a bus lane, and I should stop there. I'm not making excuses about it. I should stop at that point. But my light has gone green as a cyclist, so I know there's no traffic incoming. It's just I've got to turn left here. Now, cyclists can use the bus lanes, it's not a problem. And the second thing I probably do wrong is I go up on the pavement here and I cycle to the park entrance, which is it's a bicycle and a pedestrian path, okay? But this little bit here, the few metres I'm going between the road and the entrance to the park, is not a cycle shared path, to my knowledge. Now, if there are people walking along there, I will dismount, get off my bicycle and just push it along. But usually there's just no point because there's no one there.
Thank you.
People getting out of the way. And this is a shared path. This is bicycles and pedestrians. And if you look on Google Maps, this is the route Google Maps tells you to go if you want to go in my direction home. It says turn left into the park, go through the park. This is the entrance into Rotherhithe. You can go the other way. It's just this is the quickest route. And again, you'll see the sign as we exit the park here to say that the path is for bicycles and pedestrians. So I'm just very slow at this bit because I know that there's a lot of phone snatching and so on. So if you're coming up behind someone or towards someone on an e-bike and it's dark, it can be a little bit intimidating. So I do tend to go slow and I'm going past people. I mean, when they turn around and see you've got a high-vis vest and a rucksack and you're wearing a helmet, you're not your typical mobile phone snatcher anyway, because they've all got masks on and they're all wearing black and they've got beanie hats and they're not worried about bicycle safety. So it's fairly obvious you're not going to be doing that. But even then, this is entering Rotherhithe. fantastic part of London, with a lot of history. So all of this area would have been docks and water and ships at points in the past. So it's all been filled in now, apart from the odd dock. It's all been filled in to bring residential apartments on here. But if you'd been here 150 years ago, you would have been seeing ships everywhere, docking from Russia, from Greenland, from Scandinavia, from Europe, all coming to trade their goods. And it was just, that's what this was. This is industry. It wasn't a residential area. And the rate that they've been able to, some of the buildings, the original buildings, they've turned into apartments, but there's also a lot of new build. But it is a good area to live. There's a lot of underground car parks, which is good for residents. There's not a lot of parking on street. There's not a lot of driveways. They've found clever little ways to hide the car parks and so on. So that's quite cool. So we're on the home stretch. This is Rotherhithe Street. I'm told it's the longest street in London, and I've got to cycle from one end to the other end. For me, it never feels like the longest street in London. I'm sure there must be longer streets, but if you look on Wikipedia, I'm pretty sure it says it's the longest street. So who am I to say it's wrong? And then we're coming up to a little bridge next to the Green King pub. Nice little milestone, particularly if you're cycling on a non-e-bike. I used to have a little rest here on top of this little bridge and then carry on afterwards. But yeah, as you can see, the camera's just not coping with this light situation. It's not the best footage, but it does, as we start getting to street lights, it gets a little bit better. And the only thing you've got to be worried about here is buses, really. So there's the C10 bus route goes down here, and so there's quite a few corners where they might not see you and so on, so you just got to be vigilant. And other cyclists as well, as usual. I did read online, someone had said, cars do a lot of speeding around here because there's no speed bumps. Well, there's a few speed bumps, there's not many speed bumps on Rotherhithe Street. I don't think that's true. I don't think a lot of cars do speed. I think generally people are quite sensible. And particularly on passing cyclists, I don't get this whole 1.5 metres distance. It's nice if you can do it, but a lot of streets in London are quite tight. And I would rather someone pass me with less than 1.5 metres than just drove behind me mile after mile, putting pressure on me to speed up. I'd rather they just went past. As long as they don't hit me, I'm not bothered whether it's a metre or half a metre that they're away from me. I don't really know why that makes such a factor. Are people just scared of a car going past? I don't know. But I'd rather someone just went past and overtook me than stayed behind me for ages, because they've got to have some massive wide gap around me for whatever reason. I mean, many years ago, I used to cycle for Royal Mail as a postman, and I'd be doing 18 miles a day. And never once did I think, in all that time, this was a less PC time back then, but I never thought cars should be staying a metre and a half away from me. It just never occurred to me. I never had one incident with a car, and I was doing 18 miles a day, delivering mail on my bicycle. So I think it's all become a bit OTT. And there you can see Canary Wharf in the distance. I love that site. It never gets boring, cycling down this road at night, and you see all the tower blocks lit up over at Canary Wharf. This is a bit of your legs getting a bit knackered for me. Even on an e-bike. Even on an e-bike I'm getting out of breath. But I guess it's better than doing nothing. I mean, the only reason I have e-bikes, really, I did have a bicycle last year that I hired from SWAT affiliates, and it's so easy. The problem with that is you've got to have somewhere to store it, and you've got to take it into your place of work at the end of when you get to wherever you're going, because you've got to look after it. So, and if you have your own bicycle, you've got to chain it up or whatever. There's just so much bicycle theft in London. It's just a massive pain. So I do prefer e-bikes just because they're everywhere. You don't have to secure them. You can just leave them wherever you finish, and it's a massive stress-free option, where you're not worrying throughout the day, has someone stolen a bike or is it still there? You just know that you can just pick an e-bike up wherever you are. It doesn't really matter. So I really like that. Go past the Doubletree Hotel, this Hilton Hotel, soon to be an AOO hostel hotel. I think in this month it's changing over. And here we are, very close now to where I stopped. I usually put the e-bike over here in this corner because it's kind of out of the way a little bit, not in the way of people walking, and it's also got a bit of cover by trees above it, so you're hoping it's going to be dry and ready and sat there for you in the morning. It's a bit of a lottery with these e-bikes. You get good ones or bad ones. As long as the seat doesn't go down, I'm always happy. So that was a problem with some of the older forest bikes, is the seats are not very good. When you pull them up, as soon as you sit down, they just go down again, and then you're cycling like a clown. So as long as the seat's fine, I'm always happy. And I've just got to cancel the e-bike there, so it's turning itself off. And then, you know, this view here never gets boring. It never gets boring. Coming home, walking up those steps towards that view, and it's, you know, no matter how long you live here, to see that sort of skyline, it's just an amazing part of finishing this commute, which has taken about 32 minutes, all the way from Clerkenwell over to Rotherhithe and onto the edge of Canary Wharf there. And, you know, just to pause here, look at this massive beautiful River Thames going past Canary Wharf, and it's a good point to end this.